plenty. Oh, mercy. So the power was out at home there, and I don't see any way to tell if this is working or not, but I am recording, and I see that sound is working. So we're going to dive in. If you're out there, would really appreciate you saying hi, just so I can figure out if it's working, because I have really no way to tell. And that would be just peachy of you. I would really appreciate it today. The power was out at the office, so I decided to give it a whirl, but usually I only find that out about a half an hour or so before I do a show, and that's the way it is, right? So let's dig in. We got a great start today, and this is courtesy of Dave Rosendahl, and he sent me this, and I really like it. So let's see if I can figure out how to get over there. There we go, and we'll go to YouTube, and we'll click it. So, bulk cat litter warehouse needed a direct mail flyer. Okay, that's sort of the starting point of this whole thing. And so let's see what they came up with. Doing a mailer. How do you make direct mail that gets noticed? They got nice, colorful stuff. Put it on catnip paper. Bring the catnip concentrate. Here's those mailers. They look like postcards. Sales. Although that's kind of the trouble with all of these pitches is, was there a holdout? Was there a sample mailed without the catnip scent? That's the power of mail. That's the way we can test mail. That's the part that's always missing in these articles. And I gave Summer Gould a hard time back in mid-November because she had a nice article on scents, and so I went and looked for other articles about scent, and I went over there. Oh, and if you want to print scent, in one of our meetups, Mary England from Amadon Graphics said that she actually has technology to do scented mailers. She's in St. Paul, Minnesota, but works with people around the country, and I'll put her contact info link on the LinkedIn. So if you need to get to Mary England, you can. Oh, somebody did write in. So I must be transmitting. That's I just do this by faith every day. Okay, so so the trouble with that, it's a great piece, and in the comments underneath David Rosendahl's post, some people said, that might work even if you weren't selling catnip. If you were selling financial services, you might, would you leave your kitty bereft and have no will or something? And, people leave. If you knew they had a cat and you knew the cat would go through the mail and find the mailer, it wouldn't matter much what you were selling. It would get your attention. What is with this particular piece of mail? I'm not sure it could work as well with people. I don't know. So anyway, let's get over to the. I don't hardly remember how to run this sucker. Let's get over to the regular news. Appeal here. Okay, so here's one from Imagine Express. Don't know what that is, but I love the diagram. It showed your brain, and it showed your nose and your lips, I guess that's taste, ears, eyes, and fingers touch. Okay, so this is from a few years ago. There's lots of these out there. It says the ultimate branding message is touching and feeling in the five senses. Okay, and Ben Franklin said, "Tell me, I'll forget. Show me, I might remember. Involve me, and I will understand." I don't remember ever reading that quote from Ben, but he said a lot of good things, and probably said it on the internet. So down here, sound. The only real example was your jingle. You know, there's a guy in Milwaukee that always says, "One call, that's all," and I could see that being on a mailer. A birthday card that begins to play the happy birthday song, that would be something. I worked with Windham Hill Records, a recording studio, years ago, and they used to do a mini catalog with a CD enclosed. And you know, I said to him, "Did you ever consider putting like a sticker on the outside that said CD enclosed?" I mean, they're just mailing them out to rented lists. And I said, "Did you ever consider putting a CD or something?" Because the catalog was thick enough that you couldn't exactly tell there was a CD in there. It was a sampler, and it had samples of their best artists, including George Winston, who does the Linus and Lucy theme for Peanuts. That was one of his famous pieces. And so they looked at me and they said, "Well, we thought about doing it, but we were afraid people would then steal them to get the CDs." I said, "Who, like postmen?" And they said, "Well, maybe, you know." I said, "But isn't your objective to get it listened to? Maybe the people who steal them would like to listen to CDs." And they looked at me like, you know, kind of like deer in the headlights. But there's an idea, you know, put a CD sampler in your mailer. You can do that, or other, you know, other playable media, or even just a QR code that takes you to a link of a song now that's up on, or a video that's up on YouTube. Okay, smell is the closest sense linked to memory. Okay, and this is the best example I got of someone besides the kitty one that basically just says they did really well, but they should have had a holdout. It says Royal Mail of the UK used a chocolate smell, and they sent it to 6,500 media decision makers, and based on the result, this piece had the highest recall they'd ever received for a campaign at more than 80% recall. That's pretty good. And again, the chocolate mailer doesn't have anything really to do with direct mail, right? So that was a good one. That one at least had some result and said it did well. But again, we should have a holdout test of the same mailer. You know, here's a couple of examples. A practical application is to give prospective customers a sample of the scents available if you offer multiple scents. A spa might use aromatherapy-like fragrances in a mailer. An auto shop, the smell of tires. Coffee shop, fresh brewed coffee. And I thought that was interesting that they would say fresh brewed coffee. You know, I had some fresh brewed coffee too. And depending on where you get it, you know, there was just a story out that Starbucks is the world's largest buyer of second-rate coffee in the world. Starbucks buys coffee that most of the world doesn't even allow to be sold because of high mold content and things, and they over roast it to kill everything, which is why if you just drink coffee at Starbucks, which is what I order, you know, a cup of coffee, it tastes awful. I mean, and I think it's something like 80% of Starbucks customers order milked up, flavored up junk. But I don't, and so I've never liked Starbucks. Caribou was always better. But anyway, fresh brewed, I think the best you could do would be roasted coffee. I don't think you could do fresh brewed. Dunkin' Donuts, incidentally, just to give you an alternative, is the #1 buyer of premium coffee in the world, apparently. So they buy the good stuff. Fresh cut lawn to promote the next golf outing. I would be interested if anybody has that available. I don't know where you get a list of what fragrances are available. I had a cousin that was in the fragrance industry, and they would develop fragrances, but it was hugely expensive. And you know, are there printers? And we should talk to Mary England. I hope she'll be on the next meetup. We learn an enormous amount on these meetups. It's 2 p.m. on Thursday, and so I hope Mary will come and talk about scented mail and if she's got any holdout tests or whatever. But if somebody would like to do a Gulf outing mailer where we test it with and without cut lawn scent, I would love to hear about it, and I would love it if you would support the WDMA that way. And we will make sure you get lots of press. Okay, so here's another one on sensory mail, and they just basically said you could include sample products. We did this with Gronick Nut Company. We had an incredible customer retention once people tried their gift. We had a B2B gift thing. And the trouble was you couldn't tell what the nuts were like. And so we actually tested putting the nuts in a little sample pack, but it was tremendously expensive and kind of wrecked. You know, then it made the mailing hard to mail. It raised the postage. It was a great idea that was difficult to execute. But I'm a big fan for samples. Even if they don't relate directly, like you could do a little box of with a bolt in it that just rattled around if you were, sold machine related products. And this article just kind of boots it and says you can do scented paper or rub off stuff, maybe a floral smell. A lot of these articles are just hypothetical. And here's Summer's article, and it's a good article, and I talked about it back, like I said, in mid-November. It's available on YouTube. Our sense of smell is extremely powerful. It's connected with emotions and memory and creativity. One of the reasons, of course, is because it's interesting that from a developmental psychology standpoint, if you taste something and you really don't like it, like I really don't like blue cheese. I don't know why. It's like some people love blue cheese and some people just hate blue cheese. To me, blue cheese tastes absolutely like soap, like a bar of soap. And maybe there were a few times when I got a bar of soap. I got more than a taste of a bar of soap because maybe something not so fragrant came out of my mouth. I think I remember my mother doing that. We could check in with my siblings, and they may not have gotten the same treatment because, as the oldest, you always get experimented on. But I'm pretty sure my mother used soap. Ivory soap is perfectly safe for children, I think. Don't cite me on this. Happy Father's Day to all. I don't remember ever doing it to my kids, but it seems like there might be there's a lot of things you can do that are not very corporal. But anyway, blue cheese has always been that way. And developmental psychologists tell us that one really, really bad taste, and you will never want to taste it again. It stays there forever. And smell, of course, is a precursor to taste. You smell it before you taste it. And so you can get a whiff of it, and you say, no, I'm not putting that in my mouth. And it's a really good protection against, being poisoned to death. I'm the guy that cuts off the edge of the moldy edge of the cheese or bread or whatever. My mother would take the few outside slices and say, this looks still good. We can make grilled cheese out of it. Bless her heart. Anyway, I didn't die. So Summer says, it's a very powerful memory. And she had the idea of if you're selling brownie mix, you might have a brownie scent. But I would just, as I said back in November, go with chocolate. Garden center, maybe the smell of cedar might be a good smell, or a lumber company. She suggested using the scent of skunk to sell a cleanser. I don't know about that. I'd hate to be the mailer that put that mailer together, the printer that put the mailer together. Your whole shop would smell like skunk. So I'm not sure you'd get anybody to do that. I don't know, Summer, if you've ever had anybody do these mailings, but again, no test results are cited. I did mention that we once tested groundwood with rotogravure in a test against regular offset paper, lightly coated, fairly lightweight stock. And the groundwood was about 20% cheaper. So we were just hoping to have the same result on the groundwood. It was B2B. It wasn't anything, ultra special about the photographs that had the perfect color. But the groundwood actually did 20% better in sales, and it was a pretty good test. It was 300,000 in each panel, which makes the little 6,500 mailer by Royal Mail look like nothing. But we got a 20% lift, and after that, the catalog was always printed on groundwood. And I never thought about this at the time, but in retrospect, I sort of wonder, the newspaper is printed on groundwood, and FSIs are printed on groundwood. And so a lot of the sale flyers, even the sale flyers that come in the mail, are typically printed on groundwood. And so there's a sort of a low price smell that could be associated there, and that could have actually had some impact. I don't know if there's a smellless ground, or if it even matters. We don't really care if it's a dual causality, smell and texture and sight were all involved. But we do care that it cost us 20% less paper cost and generated 20% more sales. So all of this points to my main theme always, which is testing. You want to test it. You want to test. You want to have a control. You want to do enough to be significantly significant. You want to have a hypothesis that smell matters. I'm okay with that. But then in your testing, you don't want to just do a handful of pieces. You want to do, tens of thousands if you can, or you test it small, see the results, test more, test more, test more. That's the way direct marketing works. Too many printers are selling mail. They're selling the nuances of mail, the testing of mail, but they don't really know the essence of direct marketing, which is statistically valid experimentation. And from there we can build an explanation of what happened and extrapolate a theory and continue to reap the benefits for year after year after year and continue to test against that control. And that practice will generate customers for you that last years, not just try one drop of mail and when they don't get a good enough result, they say, well, that didn't work. What you want to be selling is the whole epistemology, the study, the marketing knowledge that direct mail gains that can't be done with other media. Okay, that's enough for today. Have a great day. Like and share. Your friends will know you're smart. And go over to WDMA.org. We've got some really heavy hitters coming, already registered. So you want to get in on that. You don't have to be a member, although we'd love you to be a member, to come to the meetup on Thursday this week, 2 p.m. Chicago time. Sign up down below, and sign up in the upper right corner at WDMA.org. It's very, very simple. In case anything changes with the Zoom link or something, it's always good to be registered. So have a great day. Like, share, and feel free to comment. Comments, I guess, for LinkedIn are the number one thing.